Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So I'd like to welcome all the devotees. Thank you very much for joining us. I'd like to seek your good wishes and your blessings so that we can continue on this wonderful journey into the third canto and specifically the sixth chapter. I wanted to seek the blessings of Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada, who very kindly gave us this Bhagavatam so that we can study and become a little bit closer to the Supreme Lord, improve our chanting. So we want to seek his blessings so that we can please him by our small effort here. And in that way, we'll please the Guru Parampara, who will pass our obeisances to the divine couple and Krishna Balaram and Gonitai. So today we're looking at the sixth chapter. Are there any questions before we go into sixth chapter? Okay, so we can recite this verse. Ekantalabam vachoso nu pumsam shushloka mulim guna padam mahu shutescha vidvadper upadkatayam katha shudayam upasam prayogam. Okay. Naniben, would you like to read?
Yeah. Hare Krishna.
Hare.
Translation. The highest perfectional gain of humanity is to engage in discussion of the activities and glories of the pious actor. Such activities are so nicely arranged in writing by the greatly learned sages that the actual purpose of the ear is served just by being near them. Very nice.
Beautiful, beautiful verse. So we might see this a bit later on. So a brief overview of where we are so far in this canto. Parikshit Maharaj asked Sukadev Goswami to describe Vidur's activities. At the end of the second canto, Vidur was described, and then Parikshit Maharaj wanted to know more because it's one of his relatives, great uncles, why he left Hastinapur after being insulted. And Sukadev Goswami explained that he traveled to the holy places, he met with Uddhav and made inquiries about the Yadus and the Pandavas and Krishna as well. And then Uddhav felt great separation because Krishna had just departed. He gave some of the wonderful transcendental pastimes of Krishna, details of that in Hastinapur, Vrindavan, Dwarka. And he even said not everybody actually understood Krishna as his supreme position as Bhagavan. Uddhav described how the Yadus disappeared and how he met Krishna and Maitreya in Prabhash, where Krishna gave his final instructions and tells Uddhav that he will go to Vaikuntha at the end of his life. Uddhav recalls the pastimes of Krishna to Vidur. And then Vidur makes further inquiries, wonderful inquiries, but Uddhav refers him to Maitreya Rishi due to Vaishnava etiquette. And Vidur was overwhelmed, actually, that Krishna remembered him at the time when he returned back to Golok. So he went to Maitreya and he asked him many questions, as we saw yesterday, about the creation of the material world and how the Lord incarnates. Maitreya was very pleased and he began to describe this process of creation. So we continue with that. Creation of the universal form is the sixth chapter's title, and Vishnu enters the elements, the first 5 verses. Having heard of the suspension of the creative process, because if you recall, the elements, the deities of the elements couldn't work together. So they prayed to Lord Vishnu, please help us get it going, kickstart the machinery. So Lord Vishnu entered the 23 elements together with Maya Devi, and he enlivened the living entities into activity, and the elements became transformed into a gigantic universal form, or the Vishwarup of the body of the Lord. Vishwarup and Viratrup is the same thing. So we've called it Viratrup because that's how it's described also in this Bhagavatam. This universal form of the Lord is the total energy of the Mahatattva, which he divides into. Now, this is probably a little complex because it's quite difficult to understand. So the three aspects are the Jiva Shakti, consciousness of the living entity, the Prana Shakti, life is, Prana means life, and Atma Shakti, self-identification. And then these three are further divided into 1, 10, and 3. So the 1 is the heart, where the life energy is generated. So every living entity will have the life energy around the region of the heart. And the Paramatma also resides in the same area. The 3 is the Adhyatma, body, mind, and the senses. And then the Adibhuta are the gross organs, earth, water, fire, air, ether, and the sense objects. So the objects of the senses. So this is the total energy of the Mahatattva, but it's been now separately categorized by the function of the Lord entering into the 23 elements. So now there can be some form to it. This Virat Rup is the first incarnation of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, if you recall, is the one that enters every universe. Manifestation of demigods from the universal form. The Supreme Lord then manifested the demigods connected with the active principal parts of his body, thus enabling the living entities to also manifest the functions of the senses, both knowledge acquiring and active senses. Development of planets, souls, varnas from the universal form. So the creation is, the process is just continuing. The Supreme Lord continued to manifest more subtle elements of creation along with their deities. Thus, qualities such as understanding, speculation, action were created. He also manifested the planetary systems and the 4 Varnas. So, what are the 4 Varnas? Who can tell me what the 4 Varnas are?
Yes. Can I say?
Yeah, of course.
Yes. Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra from the legs or from the thighs. From the legs, yes.
Legs, yes. Very good. So Brahmanas from the mouth, they're supposed to have wisdom, and Kshatriyas from the arms in order to protect, Vaishya from the thighs because of production, and the legs are service to everyone. Good. Thank you, Naliban. So that's created by the Lord. So this Varnashram cannot just be abolished like they tried in Russia and China, but it's something that's every society will have these 4 categories of people. Even if you have a class less in inverted commas society, you're still going to have the intellectuals, the government people, the army, the business people, and those who like to work. So you just can't avoid, society can't function without all those 4 being present. They're naturally created from the natural qualities of the individuals. Maitreya offers obeisances to the Lord, appreciating the inconceivable potencies of the Supreme Lord in the matter of creation. Maitreya Rishi understood his own ability, although limited. That's why he was actually very humble, saying, I don't really understand much, but whatever I'm giving you is by the mercy of my spiritual master. And who was his spiritual master? Does anybody remember from yesterday?
Parashar Rishi?
Very good. Thank you, Malaji. Nanibin, very good. That's right. And who was he the father of? Anybody remember? Parasar Muni?
Vyasadeva.
Yeah, Vyasdev. Good, good. For unconditional life and self-realization, one has to worship the Supreme Lord under the direction of the spiritual master. Thus, he offers obeisances to the Lord. So, Metta Rishi is very, very humble. He's actually deeply knowledgeable, and but this area of you can take a call. Okay, this area, yeah, that's right. The area of discussion is complex, very, very complex. Okay, so that's the end of chapter 6. Any questions or comments? You may have read the chapter and perhaps fallen asleep whilst reading it.
I could not.
Hare Krishna,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Oh, sorry.
Hare,
Hello.
Hare Krishna.
Yes.
Nani.
When I was reading, I did not understand 1, 10, and 3, but you have explained it quite well. So thank you for that.
Oh, okay, good. Because you can explain it back to me. I still don't understand it.
Oh, no, I understood what it is, but no, nothing more than that.
Yeah, I think it's probably safe to say that this is probably beyond our understanding at this stage anyway. But these things also become a little bit more clearer going forward because there's going to be more analysis given. So let's see. Oh,
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
yes, in the Lekamaji.
Yes, it's actually complex, yeah. And I try to read. Actually, I picked this particular verse for my lesson, and you picked in the same. Anyway, one thing I was not too sure, why did the Lord mention Kali as his external energy?
Kali as his external energy. That's Kali the not Kali the goddess, right? Yeah, Kali the goddess. Is that what you
Yes.
mean? Why
Yeah, that's what
Kali the goddess?
yes.
Because that's the same as Maya Devi. She's the same.
Oh,
Durga Mata.
Durga
Kali.
Mata, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
One in the same,
Okay.
in the sense that they may be different forms, but they come
Yes.
from the same source.
Because usually when we say this external energy, we say Maya Devi, and then we think about Durga, not Kali, right?
Yes.
So I was reading, I was thinking about Kali. Why Kali?
That's right.
Anyway,
That's right.
yeah, thank you, Prabhuji.
It's a good point. Thank you for spotting that. Actually, that's very good. Okay. Anybody else? And thank you for reading, huh? Both of you. Very good. And Karuna will be checking on you later.
Chicha will be checking.
Very good. Okay. So chapter 7, if there's no further comments. Okay. Verse 36 of chapter 7. Anuvartanam Shishyanam Puttanam cha Dvijotama Anaprasthamapi Bhuyur Guruvodina Vatsala. Nanibin, would you like to read?
Yes, Prabhuji. Translation. O best among the Brahmanas, those who are spiritual masters are very kind to the needy. They are always kind to their followers, disciples, and sons, and without being asked by them, the spiritual master describes all that is knowledge.
Yes, so this is actually, I remember this very well with our Guru Maharaj. He would give instruction and then he would give more instructions. he would answer a question that we would ask him, and he would continue to, even after we were satisfied, he would give us more information. And this is a spiritual master. Prabhupada was exactly the same. You'd ask him a question and he knew that your question was somewhat limited. So he'd give a lot more information than just your question, answer to your question. These are the spiritual masters. They describe even what you'd not, without being asked by them, the spiritual master describes all that is knowledge. So it's a good sign of a spiritual master, that he will describe what we need to know more than what we ask.
Prabhuji,
Yes.
is that the quality of the spiritual master common to all, or is it depends on who they are?
It seems to be something that's quite a common trait.
Okay.
Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was exactly the same. One question would be asked, and his answer would be like quite long, very long answers. And you can read about these because many of these are transcribed. So you'll see a question, like a one-line question, and then you see an answer which is like 20 paragraphs.
Yes, that's true. Yes, we have seen that, yes.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
very interesting. I think it's because they'll understand that we are very limited in our questioning. So in order to really pacify our inquiry, they will give much more information,
Mm.
because we're not even capable of questioning. Parikshit was capable of questioning. Vidur is capable of questioning. They are Raj, Rishi, and devotees. But we are in a fallen situation, so we don't really have much understanding in the first place. So this is the beauty of the spiritual master. He will give gyan. He will give knowledge. And if he doesn't give knowledge, then I perhaps would say that he's got other motives. The purpose of the spiritual master is to guide. The principal purpose is to guide through instructions.
Mm.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. With those questions about Ishvara and Jiva, Vidur asked, the chapter's name is Further Inquiries by Vidur. Vidur asked Maitreya Rishi about some apparent contradictions in the relationship between the Lord, the living entities, and material nature. Does the Lord become entangled? How does the Lord, who is unchangeable, perform actions that indicate change? So how does he perform his actions in the material world, which is always subject to change? So this was a contradiction which Vidur questioned Maitreya. And he also questioned, the living entity is pure. How can he become bewildered in spite of the Lord's presence in the heart? This is really a very intelligent questioning by Vidur. And Maitreya dispels the misconceptions. Maitreya answers that it is illogical to say that the Lord is overcome by illusion, and yet he is unconditional. And in respect of the tiny living entities, although overwhelmed by ignorance because of the misidentification with the body, just as one sees his head cut off in a dream, sometimes we have some crazy, crazy dreams, but they're just dreams. So that, although overwhelmed by ignorance, the living entity can become happy by chanting the glories, Lord's glories, and becoming forever freed from unlimited miserable conditions. And the solution is bhakti. So Maitreya Rishi is very quick and very sharp with the answers, just to dispel the doubts, misconceptions of Vidur. And Vidur expresses appreciation for Maitreya Rishi's explanations. He explains that both the lowest of fools, the crazy fellow, the real ignorant guys, and the transcendental saints, they enjoy happiness. The transcendental saint is happy because he knows he's got nothing to do with this world and he's completely connected with the spiritual world. The fool, he's not aware of his unhappy situation even. So he's happy as well. So he explains that both the lowest of fools and transcendental saint enjoys happiness, whereas the persons between them suffer material pangs. He expresses his heartfelt desire to serve Maitreya Rishi, who is a pure devotee, serve his lotus feet. And if we ever get this opportunity to serve the lotus feet of a pure devotee, we take it. We take that opportunity. And we've been blessed by Guru Maharaj's presence and so many other devotees' presence. So whenever that presence comes, because that service is rare to obtain for one whose austerity is meager. And our austerity in this age of Kali is pretty meager. So sometimes the devotee shows his causeless mercy and he just comes. And when he comes, we take full advantage. I remember one guru, what was his name? From Bhubaneswar side. It'll come to us. No, no, the Vanaprastha. Vasudev goes and sees him quite a lot. Vasudev goes to see him quite a lot. Anyway,
Chandra Bhakti.
No. So anyway, he came to the temple one time, and we washed his feet. He didn't want us to, but we persuaded him. And then the next year he came. He knew what we were going to do. Chaitanya Chandram Swami, Charan Maharaj, Chaitanya Chandram Swami. And he knew that we would be washing his feet. So he had socks on. He had double socks on. And he said, sorry, I can't remove these. So we had one opportunity and luckily we took it. But it's rare to get opportunity to serve like that. Then Vidur asked more. Maitreya Rishi gave him a glimpse in the 5th and 6th chapter about creation. And Vidur inquires further about this aspect. And he asks lots of questions. I think this about 15 or 16 verses, just question after question. So he asks about how did Brahma establish the Manus? How were the planets created? Or what's their situation? And how do they measure? The living entities under different classifications, subhumans, humans, those born of embryo, those born of perpetuation, those who are twice born. Explain all those, please. Plants, vegetables, Krishna's incarnations, please explain. Organize, how is human society sorted? Also tell us the process, yoga, gyan, yagya, sankhya, and how these people have become so faithless. What is the movement of the living entities? He asks so many questions. Religiously ordered life, what is that like? And regulations, what are they? What's the timings of the planets? What are the rituals for death? What's the divisions of time? He asks about charity, austerity, sacrifice, duties in different situations, how to please Krishna. And then the dissolution and who survives it, who crosses the kalpas, he asks. Devotional service and then he also asks devotional service and knowledge of spiritual life and the need for guru and shishya. So he asks so many questions and all of these questions are answered and they're answered throughout the Bhagavatam. And I think we will come across and maybe Chitra, you can keep a track of these questions if you like. Yeah, Mummy's there, isn't she?
Okay, Babaji.
and we'll see where they get answered. They do get answered. It's just they're all over the Bhagavatam. So.
Okay.
So, but we will see them. We will track them if it's possible anyway. So, thank you. Bit more extra service there. So Vidur then declares his confidence in Maitreya. After asking all these questions, he declares Maitreya as the friend of all, especially for all those who have lost their vision, and his answers will grant immunity from all material miseries. Such charity is greater than all Vedic charities, sacrifices, and penances. So this is a really nice point, that when somebody gives spiritual knowledge, that charity is regarded to be the best. And we know that from the Bhagavad Gita, because at the end, Krishna says, the person who shares this secret with the devotees is very dear to me. And then the next verse, 1869, he says, there's no servant more dear to me than that person. So that is the end of the 7th chapter. Any questions or any comments, any realizations from reading?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, I was just thinking about the questions. As you say, you told before it as well as today, it gets answered throughout. But I think there are very many questions and not many answers immediately. So
Mm.
there has to be a way of finding out. And
Yes.
yeah, we have
Yeah,
to.
we'll track them. We'll track them.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll track them. It's a very, very nice, it's a nice exercise to do anyway. But you're absolutely right. Let's track these questions and see when they get answered. Some of these get answered quite quickly.
Yes, some of them, yes. Yeah.
But a lot of them are in much later chapters as well. So.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, Naniven.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Indulekha.
Yeah, I just remembered something.
Sure.
When once we were at your place and Guru Maharaj was giving class, and he would always know that somebody has questions, but I was sitting at the back. I didn't ask question, and he pointed out, he said, Indulekha, you have something to ask.
Whoa.
And I said, yes, Maharaj. And he said, Bolo, kya bolna? Then I said, Maharaji, how come Ganga Devi landed up on Shiva's head? Then he explained that. And he knew, I was a bit hesitant to ask, So then he explained very nicely. It was Shivaratri, actually. Then he was talking on Lord Shiva. Then, the Maharajas, they know that when their disciple have questions, they know.
Yeah, well done. Thank you for sharing that. And you got a great memory. Wow. I can remember asking questions, but I can't remember what I asked about. Well done, Maji. Very good. Okay, if there's no other points, we can go to the next chapter. Maitrivacha satsevanyo pata purumamso yaloka palo bhavata pradana babu vitheja hatita kirti malam pade pade nutana yasasi apikshanam. Niben again? Okay.
Yeah. Translation. The great sage Maitreya Muni said to Vidura, the royal dynasty of King Puru is worthy to serve the pure devotees because all the descendants of that family are devoted to the personality of Godhead. You are also born in that family. It is wonderful that because of your attempt, the transcendental pastimes of the Lord are becoming newer and newer at every moment.
Brilliant. Yeah. Thank you, Naniben. So this is when somebody asks questions, like Vidura was asking Maitreya, he was feeling more and more inspired. And he's probably heard these pastimes and talked about these pastimes many times. But then Maitreya says it becomes newer and newer at every point. So, for example, we will be shortly entering the Damodar month, the Kartik Mass. And every day we'll be talking about the Leela of Lord Krishna when he was tied up by Mother Yashoda. Every day we talk about the same Leela. I remember one time somebody asked me, isn't it boring? Same Leela every class? And we said, no, this is really amazing. It might be the same Leela to you, but actually every time we talk about it, it's something new. It's fresh. It's because it's the Lord's pastimes. So, although this time we might do it a little differently, isn't it? We might go through all the different pastimes as well. Anyway, chapter 8, manifestations of Brahma from Garbhodaksha Vishnu. So we've heard this a couple of times. So let's see what Maitreya has to say. Maitreya was pleased with Vidura's inquiries and stated that the transcendental pastime of the Lord becomes nearer and nearer at every moment when there is enthusiasm to hear about the Lord. Maitreya proposes to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam as he heard it in disciplic succession, beginning with Lord Shankarshan to Sanat Kumar to Sankhyayana Muni to Parasara Muni and Brihaspati at the same time to Maitreya Rishi. So This is the disciplic succession, which is important. When Lord Shankarshan was speaking, the sages came from the highest planets down to the lower regions, through the water of the Ganga, and touched the lotus feet of the Lord. That must have been amazing. So this disciplic succession is important, because then the knowledge is received through an authorized channel. If we're just reading, or if somebody's just written a Bhagavad Gita because they fancied writing it without having a guru parampara behind them, that's just their speculation. That's all it is, because there's no gyan behind it. There may be some gyan behind it, but is that gyan backed up with authority? So our authority is the previous acharyas. And ultimately, it all comes from the Supreme Lord. The sampradaya that we belong to is the Brahma Madhav Gaudiya Sampradaya. And the original speaker of the Bhagavatam is Lord Krishna himself to Brahma. And then Brahma spoke it to Narad, who spoke it to Vyas, who spoke it to Shukadev Goswami, who spoke it to Sutta. And then it comes down the line that way. So it's very important. We are very, very fortunate to have this line. And I think it's important when somebody hears Bhagavatam, establish, has the person who's speaking got a line behind him? If he hasn't, then on what authority is he speaking? Is it simply the authority of his mental speculation? Not good enough. That's not good enough. We want proper authority. We want this to come from a proper, strong foundation, because we want to realize this knowledge and put it into our lives, transform our lives with it. So, very important to understand that. Reawakening of the creation. In the case of a full dissolution of the universe. Before we go into this, I wanted to ask some questions. What happens when this 100 years of Brahma finishes? When this universe is destroyed? What happens when at the end of Brahma's time?
There's annihilation of the creation.
Which creation?
Of the universe, universal creation.
Yes, good. And what happens at the end of his day?
The same, right? Everybody just he revives everything, and then when he goes to sleep, he annihilates everything. Is it the same?
Not everything. It's slightly, it's slightly different. So we can go through that. In the case of a full dissolution of the universe, which happens at the end of the life of Brahma, the material energy is completely wound up. So it all goes back into the body of Karanadakshaya Vishnu. Yeah. In the case of a partial dissolution, that happens at the end of a day of Brahma. So that's 1,000 cycles of the 4 yugas. Only the gross bodies of the jivas become unmanifest, while their subtle bodies and their karmas merge within the body of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, along with the elements in their subtle form. So it's only a partial destruction. Not everything gets destroyed. It's just the lower planetary systems and Bhulok and Swarglok, that gets destroyed. The planets above that, Janalok, Mahalok, Satyalok, they stay in place. Nothing gets destroyed up there. But they feel the heat from the fire of destruction. So the sages, they shift from Mahalok to Janalok, I think it is. So not everything gets destroyed at the end of the day of Brahma.
So what happened to the subtle body?
Destroyed. That gets destroyed. Yeah, that gets destroyed. And then
so how do we carry our karmas then?
Oh, the Lord carries it for us. The jiva's karma, everyone's accounted for. Yeah, Paramatma. And we are all within the body of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. He's got one nice system of accounting.
So this happens in every universe. So, so each Garbhodakshaya Vishnu in each universe has, so all the universes are still intact.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And Karanadakshaya Vishnu is still breathing, yeah. still on his 1 second breath.
Thank you.
Okay. It'll become a bit more clearer as well. They become reawakened with the glance of the Lord and sprout from the navel, and then Brahma, and then Brahma also comes, known as the self-born Swayambhuva. It was born. So this is at the beginning. This is at the beginning of the creation. So what happens? Brahma, situated on the center of the lotus, could not see the world. So we've seen this explanation given in Canto 1, Canto 2. Again, we're going to get it. A little bit more detail from Maitri Rishi. While moving his eyes in the 4 directions to see, he obtains 4 heads. Now, Brahma's body is not like ours. The Devata's bodies are not like ours. They're subtle bodies. And that's why we'll see from Brahma's body came this creation, that creation. And we're trying to understand it with our limited sense perceptions. But his body is actually not gross. It's subtle. It's subtle in the sense it's mind, intelligence, and ego is what is consisting of. So he can do things with his body, which we can't even dream about. But their bodies are different from ours. Brahma's bewilderment about the creation reveals that it is difficult to understand the mystery of creation by mental speculation, and that Brahma's power to create is not his own, but was coming from the Lord. Brahma contemplated, who am I, situated on the top of this lotus? Wherefrom has it sprouted? There must be something from which it is originating. So then he entered the lotus stem, but he could not trace out the root. It was so deep. Giving up on his unsuccessful search, he came back to the top of the lotus, and then actually he heard the word tapa. Tapa means austerity. That was coming from the Lord, and it inspired him to meditate on the Lord. So he did 100 years of meditation, and then he could see the Lord within his heart. The Lord was present within his heart. And if you recall, I don't know if we came across this earlier, the Lord actually shook his hand and he gave him a glimpse of Vaikuntha. And he was very pleased with his tapasya. Oh, okay. So this is a little idea of Brahma. He's moving his head and he gets 4 heads. And then he goes down this lotus stem, but then couldn't find the end. So he comes back up, meditates on tapa, austerity, and pleases the Lord in that way. Brahma's vision of beautiful Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. The luster of Lord, transcendental body of the Lord mocked the beauty of Coral Mountain. So I just Googled what a coral mountain is, and this is something that came up within the sea, Coral Mountain. I don't know if that's what it is, but anyway. The Coral Mountain is very beautifully decorated by the evening sky, but the yellow dress of the Lord mocked its beauty. His transcendental body, unlimited in length and breadth, occupied 3 planetary systems, upper, middle, and lower. His body was so self-illuminated by unparalleled dress and variegatedness, and was properly ornamented. The Lord showed his lotus feet by raising them. His lotus feet are the source of all awards achieved by devotional service, free from material contamination. Seeing all this, Brahma concluded that he is Lord Hari. In this way, the Lord inspired Brahma with the desire to create. So Brahma then began to offer prayers to the Lord. So that's the end of chapter 9. Is it 9? 8. Chapter 8, yeah. Any questions at this point?
Prabhuji,
Yes.
so because Brahma, they don't have a gross body because they are in their sort of subtle form. So does it mean that they do not have a body as such?
Well, no, they have a subtle body. So they have all the senses,
Okay.
eyes, everything is functioning. It's just that they cannot, their bodies don't get old like ours.
Okay.
Yeah, they just stay ever fresh, ever fresh. It's not quite a spiritual body, but it's close.
Okay.
It's subtle.
Thank you.
A spiritual body is different. That the spiritual body, with the eyes, they can eat. Like Krishna, with his eyes, he can eat. So we offer the food to him, and he looks, and that's considered eating. But Brahma can't eat with his eyes. He's limited in that sense. A spiritual body is a different level to a subtle body.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
So Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Indrika.
So we in this disciplic succession, we say Brahma, Madhva, Gaudiya, right? So
Yeah.
why Madhva? Who is Madhva? Can you explain, please?
Madhvacharya.
Oh, he was an acharya in our disciplic succession.
That's right. That's right. He came before Chaitanya. He came before Madhavendra Puri. He came. His guru. Oh no, we don't have the Gita here. His guru was Vyasadev as well, I think. Just it's in that bag, when I took to school. We just find the book.
Haribol, Navi.
Yes.
Haribol. Yeah, Hare Krishna, Haribol to everyone. Yeah. At the end of Bhagavad Gita, the introduction or something, there's a disciplic succession given.
That's right. That's right.
Starting from Krishna all the way to Prabhupada. So if anybody wants to refer.
Have you got it there?
If you just weather-based Google.
Getting it, don't worry. Kinti's just getting it. So yes, this Madhavacharya was actually incarnation of Bhim, very powerful acharya. His temple, his mutt, is in Udupi. That's right, isn't it? Udupi. And they had a wonderful. They were. Sorry?
Gopal.
Yes, beautiful deity of Gopal. They worship Bal Gopal. It's very, very beautiful. But he's one of the acharyas. It's at the end of the introduction. We can just quickly go through that. Yeah. So Krishna, Brahma, Narad, Vyas, and then Madhavacharya. So what happened was Madhavacharya went to the Himalayas, and he actually got darshan of Vyasadev. And this is around about the 1400s, something like that. No, that can't be 1400. It must be 1200s. So we've done, I think we've done a presentation on Madhavacharya. No, we haven't. Okay. We need to do one then.
There's two Madhav, and there's Madhav, and
yeah, they're different.
Madhavendra Puri, and yeah.
Madhavendra Puri is different. Madhava is whom this sampradaya is named after, because Chaitanya took the teachings of Madhavacharya, and we've blended into that sampradaya. Although he took lessons from all the four sampradayas, but the one we were closest to, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's philosophy, is Madhavacharya's. So, but it's very, very interesting that the four sampradayas, how they work together. We'll have to look at that one day in some detail.
Yeah.
You want to say something? Do you remember anything from that class? That's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Now, all I can remember from this class on the four sampradayas was that each of these acharyas, like Nimbakacharya, Madhacharya, they all went to Vishnu Swami and Ramanujacharya. They all actually went to the area of Navadvip and Mayapur before they actually started their sampradayas, and they were guided by Krishna from within to go to various places in Bharat where they would find the deities that they should worship.
So in the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all of these
and then
appeared.
That's right. And then all these acharyas actually have come in the Gaur Leela. So Vishnu Swami is Vallabh Bhatt, Madhavacharya is Murari Gupta, Ramanujacharya is Ananta Brahman, and Nimbakacharya is Keshav Kashmiri. So they wanted to be associated with Krishna, but they said, no, you start these sampradayas, but in Gaur Leela you will be associated with me.
Mm-hmm. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu actually, in many ways, brought all of the sampradayas together.
Mm-hmm.
And we see Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, he's got a temple in Mayapur, where all acharyas, or from all four sampradayas, are in one temple, worshipped. So very, very interesting how that all works. Anyway, one day we'll go through that. Indulekha Maaji, if that's okay.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Anybody else? Okay. So Indulekha Maaji, you might as well go through these
lessons.
What happened? Oh, yeah.
Yes. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So lesson so far, we are on Canto 3. So chapter 1, if we make our home a temple, the Lord will definitely visit us. Chapter 2, in this age of Kali, our only tapasya is to chant the holy name of the Lord. Chapter 3, we all need a guru to guide us on the spiritual path. Chapter 4, no matter how learned or one may be, one should not try to instruct someone who is well versed in spiritual knowledge and who is older than them. Chapter 5, the Lord's external energy is Maya, and through her, the entire material world is created. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Maaji. Mother Sunpu.
God, sorry, Haribol, can you hear me?
Yes, you can hear you.
Yeah. Yeah, these chapters are quite amazing, but the questioning is actually by Vidura, and Maitreya is so qualified and so learned and so God conscious in a way that he can answer these questions. And that's why Uddhav, recommended that Vidura goes to Maitreya and seek his knowledge and ask him questions as well. So chapter 6, Maitreya having explained to Vidura how the Lord manifests different aspects of the creation. So like we were saying, how from the Maitreya explains that how the Mahatattva, then after that there is the Virat form of the Lord gets formed, and from different parts of the body, different aspects of all the different creation, like hearing first comes, like sound, through sound, and the sense of hearing is there. Then the sun, there's a sense of sight. From the skin, there's a sense of touch. And all this ability starts to manifest and gets created through the Lord. And then there's also, including how, we can mentally speculate, understand Vedic wisdom. All these, first of all, is there, manifested. Then we can, the living entities can actually tap into all that, I suppose, So in 3.6.40, it says, the words, minds, and ego with their respective controlling demigods. So this shows that there are demigods that were created. They were some demigods control the sense of hearing, sight, touch, all these different, these demigods even control the speech, mind, false ego. And then, so the respective controlling demigods have failed to achieve success in knowing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Earlier on yesterday in the chapter, we also found that the demigods were actually praying to the Supreme Lord to give them the ability to start to create, So they also take permission and guidance from the Supreme Lord. But even then, they kind of don't get to know the whole, all aspects of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in this verse, then, it says, therefore, we simply have to offer our respectful obeisance unto him as a matter of sanity. So if you're going to go crazy, trying to figure out all these different aspects, but just for our sanity, we just have to respect our obeisances, that's what Maitreya concludes in the end of that chapter. And in the chapter 7, then obviously Vidura asks even more questions, that how can the Supreme Lord, who is fully cognizant and he is spiritual, how can does he ever get affected by the material modes of nature or something? He creates all those aspects, but yet he is not affected by that. But the souls, the jivas, including the demigods and even Brahma, all these, they have, like you said, Brahma has a subtle body, the demigods have subtle body, but their subtle bodies have got, we also, when we give up our physical body, we keep the subtle body. We take our ego, mind, intelligence, karma, and all that goes with the mind. And then it goes, Yamra, then we get another physical body. Physical body gets manifested when the jiva desires, and then in the womb, it starts to put all the elements together. And even in Bhagavatam, later on, the whole science of embryology will come. We will start to understand that as well. So Srimad Bhagavatam doesn't leave any aspects, but it'll be answered later on. But the pure soul is pure consciousness, is never out of consciousness, either due to circumstances, time, situation, dreams, and other causes. How then does he become engaged in essence? So how does he get covered up, And then, so let me just speak have I included that or no? I'm referring to my notes as well. So chapter 7. So actually there is no bondage or misery for the living entity. So if we are pure soul and if we are full of knowledge and all that, then there's no suffering or misery. But even then, why do we still suffer? In his pure consciousness, when he thinks a little seriously about his position, he can understand that he is eternally subordinate to the mercy of the Supreme Lord, and that his attempt to become one with the Supreme Lord is a false illusion. So we're always going to be in this false illusion if we're going to try keep thinking that we can become one with the Supreme Lord, like some philosophies say, merge into and become. So like I came across transcendental meditation, Maharishi Yogi, and he was trying to say that when our consciousness expands so much that it takes, it merges, or it becomes as big as the universe. Actually, he's transcendent. That's why it's like a false illusion, And so we are requested to think a little seriously. That's what Prabhupada, in the purport says. You should use a little intelligence and then think seriously, and we'll realize that we're actually we cannot become one with the Lord. And there's also a part in the purport where Prabhupada says that, not all living entities get covered up with illusion and Maya and all that. Some personalities are always there, fully cognizant, and they're all self-realized. Otherwise, there would be no solution for the living entities. There would never the chance to actually gain any knowledge or get out of that conditioned state. So there are living entities, like we say, the sages and all that. they're always around, you know, like Narad Muni will come and he'll always try to expand this Srimad Bhagavatam, and then the living entities can have a chance at least, you know. So in chapter 8, Sri Prabhupada also in the purport says that whoever touches the water of the Ganges to his head surely touches the lotus feet of the Lord directly. And this comes from the 4 sages, how they actually traveled from the highest planet down to the lowest, and through the Ganges water, and their hair was still wet. It's, you know, and then they touched. It shows that, you know, they actually had touched the lotus feet of the Lord. But here, Prabhupada actually says that, you know, we can also become free from all effects of sinful acts if we, you know, go to the Ganges and put Ganges water. But if after taking a bath in the Ganges or being washed of all sins, a man guards himself against committing further sinful acts, then certainly he is delivered. But if he again takes up to sinful activities, his bath in the Ganges is as good as that of an elephant who nicely takes his bath in a river and later spoils the whole thing by covering himself with dust on the land. So you see elephants, you know, they take a bath, throw water over it, then they start throwing mud all over them again. So we should not have that kind of mentality. That's what Prabhupada recommends, you know. Okay.
Thank you. That's good. Thank you very much. Wonderful. Any other questions or any comments? Okay, Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Okay.
So let's go to the